Here I have a list of different languages and different quotation marks these languages use. As you can see, there is a whole list of a couple of languages, along with their quotation marks. Well, during the translation process, this can be a real pain, especially when your target and source languages use a different set of quotation marks. So you would need to switch your keyboard settings all the time to get the quotation marks correct. But things can get even more annoying. As you can see, for instance, my native language, which is Czech, which we have right here. So this language uses the opening and closing quote, and they are different. As you can see, the opening quote is at the bottom, while the closing quote is at the top. But for some mysterious reason, you can only write the US standard quotation marks on our Czech standard keyboard. So ridiculously enough, if you want to get the Czech quotation marks correct, you would just need to copy-paste them from some other document. This is tolerable if you just have one or two pairs of quotation marks in your document, but can be hugely annoying when your document is full of them. Well, again, Bohemicus is here to help you. It will replace your quotation marks on the fly. You just need to set it up a little bit. For this, go to the Language and Settings tab, which we have right here, and put the correct quotation marks in the opening and closing text box. So this is the opening and closing text box. You can change these quotation marks, and Bohemicus will use this opening and closing quotation mark to replace your standard quotation marks on the fly. And that's it. You can now switch to some other program like Notepad, in this case, and try to write something with these newly defined quotation marks. So if we just go to Notepad and now we try to write something, it will just replace the quotation marks on the fly. Of course, you can also change it to something else. So for instance, let's change it to French quotation marks, which we have right here. I can just copy-paste them from this text box into the opening and closing text box. And now let's see what happens if we go back to Notepad and we try to write something now. So as you can see, your opening and closing quotation marks will be replaced on the fly. It works like a charm. If you want to insert the original quotation marks that you would normally type on your keyboard, just press Ctrl plus your quotation mark key. So I press Ctrl plus quotation mark key, which is this. And as you can see, Bohemicus will insert the standard quotation marks from your keyboard. Also, if you want to quickly replace your quotation marks in the whole document or in a segment in your cat tool, you can just press the Ctrl plus Alt plus Q hotkey. Like this, you just press Ctrl plus Alt plus Q. And as you can see, all your quotation marks will get replaced by your predefined set of quotation marks. Now, you can also specify quotation marks for the machine translation feature. Sometimes Google Machine Translation Service can replace the quotation marks correctly, sometimes not. So you can specify to have your quotation marks replaced correctly every time. Again, it is the Language and Settings tab. It is the box right here. You can specify which quotation mark should always be replaced by your selected pair of quotes. So as you can see, I have all sorts of different quotation marks defined right here. These are the quotation marks I would like to have replaced every time by my opening and closing quote. Please don't forget to separate all of these quotation marks with a comma. And also, you can switch this function on or off by clicking this checkbox right here. So let's take a look at a little example. There we have some text with quotation marks in it, as you can see. We use different quotation marks in our text. In this segment, we use the US quotation marks. Here we have some other quotation marks, here are the French quotation marks, and so on. So let's see if Bohemicus translates this correctly into our target language, which is Czech in this case. So we just copy the source text to the target segment. We select all the text and we just press Ctrl plus Alt plus space to have it machine translated. And as you can see, our quotation marks have been correctly replaced by our defined Czech quotation marks, like here. So we have the bottom and also the top quotation mark in every case. Of course, you can specify the type of quotation marks you would like to use. So again, here, for instance, you can write, you can put these straight quotation marks like this. And if you try to translate it now, it will be replaced by our predefined quotation marks like this. As you can see, we got these straight US quotation marks here.